The sound of shattered trust echoed louder than the roar of any luxury engine when the CEO looked at the exhausted single father standing before her and coldly announced that he was fired for being late. His wrinkled shirt carried traces of grease, dark circles hung beneath his tired eyes, and his hands trembled from exhaustion. Yet before he could explain himself, the decision had already been made. What nobody in that room knew was that the man being thrown out had spent the entire night sacrificing his rest, his comfort, and the little time he had left with his daughter to save the very Ferrari that belonged to the woman who had just destroyed his livelihood. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and judging people only after knowing their story, please take a moment to like this video, comment below where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs a reminder to be compassionate, and subscribe to Heartfelt Chronicles for more emotional stories that touch the soul. Ethan Carter had never imagined that life would become a daily battle between survival and love. At 38 years old, he worked as a senior maintenance technician at one of the city's most successful luxury automotive companies. Years earlier, he had dreamed of opening his own repair shop, teaching his daughter everything he knew about engines, and giving her a stable childhood. But dreams often surrendered to reality. After losing his wife to a sudden illness, Ethan became both father and mother to 6-year-old Lily, a bright little girl with curious eyes and a smile capable of healing wounds that medicine never could. Every morning before sunrise, Ethan prepared breakfast, braided Lily's hair with clumsy fingers that had learned tenderness through necessity, packed her school lunch, and walked her to the bus stop before rushing to work. His life was a carefully balanced routine held together by discipline, sacrifice, and an unwavering promise he had made beside his wife's hospital bed. That Lily would always know love, even in the middle of hardship. At the center of the company stood Victoria Sinclair, the brilliant and feared CEO, whose name commanded respect across the automotive industry. At 42 years old, she had built an empire through relentless determination. Her employees admired her intelligence, but feared her perfectionism. Mistakes were unacceptable. Excuses were weaknesses. Efficiency was everything. Victoria had spent years convincing herself that emotions clouded judgment. She believed success belonged to those who made difficult decisions without hesitation. To her employees, she appeared untouchable, dressed in elegant designer suits, arriving in her stunning red Ferrari that symbolized achievement and power. Ethan had worked under her leadership for 5 years. Though their worlds could not have been more different, he respected her dedication. He simply wished she could see that life was not as simple as deadlines and punctuality. The evening before everything changed, Ethan had tucked Lily into bed after helping her complete a school project about heroes. While other children wrote about superheroes or athletes, Lily had written about her father. Her small handwriting described a man who fixed broken things, made the best pancakes in the world, and always stayed strong even when he looked tired. As Ethan kissed her forehead, his phone rang. One of the company's managers sounded panicked. Victoria's Ferrari had broken down unexpectedly on a deserted road outside the city after an important event. The specialized technicians capable of repairing it were unavailable. The vehicle needed immediate attention before sunrise because Victoria had investors flying in for a major presentation. Ethan looked toward Lily's bedroom door. He had promised to attend her school's morning assembly, where she would receive recognition for her project. He had already worked overtime all week. His body begged for rest, yet, knowing the consequences for everyone involved if the Ferrari remained unusable, Ethan agreed to help. Through the long hours of the night, he worked alone beneath harsh fluorescent lights. Grease stained his hands as he diagnosed electrical failures and mechanical complications that required patience and expertise. The clock moved mercilessly forward. His mind wandered constantly to Lily. Would she understand? Would she forgive another broken promise? Between tightening bolts and replacing damaged components, Ethan stared at the photograph taped inside his locker. It showed Lily laughing at the beach, holding an ice cream cone larger than her tiny hands. That photograph reminded him why he never gave up. As dawn approached, exhaustion blurred his vision. Finally, after hours of relentless effort, the Ferrari's engine purred back to life with flawless precision. Ethan cleaned the workspace as best he could before racing home to prepare Lily for school. Unfortunately, life had one more challenge waiting. Lily had developed a fever during the night. Concern replaced urgency as Ethan comforted his daughter, gave her medicine, contacted the school, and arranged emergency childcare with an elderly neighbor. By the time he reached the office, he was 43 minutes late. 43 minutes. For most people, it was an inconvenience. For Victoria Sinclair, it was unacceptable. The atmosphere inside the company became painfully silent as Ethan entered the conference room where executives had gathered. Victoria stood at the front, reviewing schedules for the day. Her sharp eyes settled on him immediately. Without asking questions, without seeking explanations, she publicly announced that repeated lateness reflected irresponsibility and a lack of professionalism. The company required dependable individuals. Effective immediately, Ethan Carter's employment was terminated. Shock swept through the room. Ethan lowered his gaze. Humiliation burned deeper than anger. He thought about Lily's medicine, her school supplies, the rent due next week, health insurance, every responsibility resting solely upon his shoulders. Still, dignity prevented him from begging. He quietly gathered his belongings, while whispers echoed around him. Then the silence broke. Richard Hayes, the operations manager, who had coordinated the emergency repair, stepped forward. His voice carried disbelief and urgency as he informed Victoria that the man she had just fired had spent the entire night fixing her Ferrari. After everyone else refused or was unavailable, he explained how Ethan had sacrificed his own rest to ensure Victoria's important meeting proceeded without disaster. He described Ethan working tirelessly until sunrise. The room fell completely still. Victoria's expression shifted for the first time. Confusion, disbelief, then something unfamiliar. Guilt. The realization struck her with crushing force. While she had been sleeping comfortably, the employee she accused of irresponsibility had been protecting the reputation she valued above all else. While she judged his lateness, he had been carrying burdens she never bothered to understand. Victoria watched Ethan standing silently near the doorway with a cardboard box containing the remnants of his professional life. For the first time in years, certainty abandoned her. She asked him to stay, but Ethan's exhaustion had moved beyond physical fatigue. Months of unspoken struggles surfaced beneath his calm exterior. He explained that being a single father meant navigating impossible choices every day. Sick children did not wait for convenient schedules. Grief did not disappear because deadlines existed. Responsibility extended beyond office walls. He had never sought praise. He had simply tried to survive. Victoria listened, truly listened. The woman known for efficiency discovered the painful humanity hidden behind employee records and attendance reports. Later that afternoon, unable to focus on business presentations, Victoria drove through the city with Ethan's personnel file resting beside her. Outstanding performance evaluations, countless overtime hours, letters praising his integrity. Not a single complaint. How had she never noticed? How many others carried invisible battles while she measured worth through productivity alone? That evening, Victoria visited Ethan's modest apartment. Inside, she found Lily asleep on the couch beneath a faded blanket. Crayon drawings decorated the walls. Financial hardship was evident, yet warmth filled the small space. One drawing captured Victoria's attention. It showed Ethan wearing a cape beside Lily. The title read, "My Dad Fixes Everything." Victoria felt tears threaten the emotional armor she had worn for decades. She remembered her own father, a hard-working mechanic, whose sacrifices had allowed her opportunities she later took for granted. Somewhere along the road to success, ambition had erased empathy. She apologized to Ethan sincerely, not as a CEO protecting public image, as a human being acknowledging failure. Ethan accepted her apology with grace, though the hurt remained visible. Oxes, he believed, mattered more than words. Victoria returned to the company, transformed by uncomfortable truth. Policies changed. Managers received training emphasizing compassion alongside accountability. Emergency family leave expanded. Employee support systems strengthened. The workplace began recognizing that behind every job title existed entire lives filled with struggles, hopes, fears, and responsibilities. Most importantly, Victoria reinstated Ethan with a promotion reflecting both his expertise and leadership. But Ethan requested something unexpected: flexible hours, not prestige, not wealth. Time with Lily. Victoria agreed immediately. Months passed, Lily recovered and flourished. Ethan attended school events he once feared missing. He smiled more often. The constant panic surrounding survival slowly loosened its grip. Meanwhile, Victoria discovered fulfillment beyond quarterly profits. Employees worked harder because they felt valued. Loyalty deepened where fear had once ruled. One afternoon, she visited the company workshop and found Ethan teaching apprentices not only technical skills, but patience and humility. He reminded them that fixing machines required understanding people too, because everyone carried unseen burdens. Everyone deserved dignity. Years later, company employees still spoke about the morning everything changed. Not because a Ferrari had been repaired, not because a CEO admitted fault, but because compassion finally entered a place ruled solely by performance. The story became a quiet reminder that kindness costs nothing, yet transforms everything. Before we reach the ending, we have a special request for you. Please comment below with the words, "Choose kindness." Your comment may encourage someone silently struggling to keep going today. Victoria often reflected on how close she had come to losing one of her greatest employees because of assumptions. Ethan reflected on how unexpected grace had restored hope during one of his darkest moments. And Lily, now older, continued believing that heroes existed, not because they wore capes, but because they stayed awake through exhausting nights, fixing what others overlooked, because they chose responsibility even without recognition, because they loved fiercely despite heartbreak. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a comment sharing your thoughts, subscribe to Heartfelt Chronicles, and share this message with someone you care about. Your engagement helps stories of hope, compassion, and second chances reach people who may desperately need them. The next time someone disappoints you, remember that you may only be seeing one chapter of a story much larger than your own understanding. The person arriving late may have spent the night saving someone else. The quiet coworker may be fighting battles no one notices. The exhausted parent may be carrying the weight of an entire world for the sake of a child. Kindness does not weaken leadership. Compassion does not excuse excellence. Understanding does not diminish accountability. Instead, these qualities reveal the very best of what it means to be human. And sometimes, the greatest miracle is not fixing a Ferrari. It is repairing a heart before it becomes too hard to feel.